The conflict between humankind and the tall, crystal-skinned Kellier had dragged on for years, stretching across dusted moons and fractured orbital paths. Yet amid the storms of war, one human soldier quietly altered the course of two civilizations. His name was Rallen. He was known among his unit for his steady voice, his controlled strength, and a strange ability to endure pain far beyond normal limits. Many whispered that he had been altered during childhood medical trials, though he never spoke of it. To him, pain was simply another weight to be carried. Rallen arrived on the frozen world of Nyrun as part of a peacekeeping push meant to hold a fragile ceasefire. The region was trembling between truce and renewed hostility. Patrols from both sides crossed paths daily, each encounter like a match hovering over dry tinder. Rallen moved through this volatile landscape with calm steps, scanning energy signatures and tending to damaged relay towers. His mission was to maintain stability, yet his instincts told him that something unpredictable was approaching. During a patrol on the edge of the shattered ridge, he heard a faint cry carried by the wind. It wasn't human. It wasn't machine. It was the thin, trembling sound of a young Kellier. He followed the echo through fractured ice pillars until he found a small figure, trapped beneath a fallen shard of crystal stone. The child's skin shimmered with pale lavender hues, a sign that their energy core was unstable. A core fracture meant severe pain, and without intervention, the child would slip into shock. Rallen approached cautiously. Humans weren't welcome near Kellier Young, even in peaceful times. Still, he saw no soldiers, no guardians, no threats. He only saw suffering. He removed his gloves and placed his bare hands on the cold crystal slab. The weight was tremendous. He strained, drawing on every reserve within him. His muscles shook, but he lifted the slab enough to slide the child free. The young one cried out again, clutching its chest where the core flickered. Kellier energy cores reacted violently to physical trauma. Their people had learned to share pain through controlled bioresonance, a technique Rallen had only read about in training. The child's body began glowing with spikes of unstable light. If the core ruptured, it would release a surge dangerous enough to wound both of them. Rallen knelt beside the trembling young one. He placed his hand on the child's arm and whispered soothing words. He knew they wouldn't be understood, yet tones sometimes reached where language did not. The child looked at him with frightened violet eyes. Rallen felt something stir inside him. Not fear, not duty. Something akin to empathy sharpened by instinct. Without hesitation, he pressed both hands to the child's core. The searing pulse shot through him. Fire lanced across his nerves. The pain was cataclysmic, like being thrown into the center of a collapsing star. But Rallen didn't move. His breath steadied. His heart slowed. He absorbed the agony as if drawing it into himself. Humans weren't built for this. No training could prepare someone for direct contact with raw Kellier energy. Yet Rallen endured. He did it not because of strategy or orders, but because the young life in front of him deserved protection. As the intensity surged, the energy flow stabilized. The core pulsed gently, then settled. The child's breathing evened out. Rallen finally collapsed to one knee, trembling but alive. Moments later, shimmering figures surrounded him. Kellier soldiers appeared with crystalline armor that refracted the cold light. Their weapons glowed at the ready. Rallen slowly raised his hands, careful not to provoke them. The young one hurried to their side and clung to the leg of a tall, armored figure. That figure stepped forward and removed her helmet. Her name was Lyra, commander of the Kellier Border Guard. She looked at Rallen with disbelief, mixed with something softer. She studied the readings from the child's core, then looked back at him. What he had done was unthinkable. No human should have survived absorbing that level of energy. She asked him why he acted without fear. Rallen answered simply, He could not watch a young one suffer. Lyra ordered the squad to stand down. She carried the child into her arms and examined them carefully. She turned to Rowland and told him that his act had prevented a tragedy that would have ignited war again. The Kellier valued their young above all else. Had one perished during a ceasefire, both sides would spiral into renewed violence. Rowland had unknowingly saved not only the child but the fragile peace. Lyra insisted he accompany her to the Kellier med station so their healers could examine the damage he had absorbed. Rowland agreed. Pain still throbbed through him, but he walked with steady steps. The Kellier escort surrounded him without hostility. Some even looked at him with something like respect. Inside the crystalline medical chamber, healers worked swiftly. They placed Rowland inside a containment shell that filled with warm, luminous mist. The mist eased the burning sensation in his bones. They murmured in their harmonic tongue, confused at how his human nervous system had endured such resonance. Lyra stood nearby, watching him with focused eyes. When the healers finished, they declared that Rowland had taken the full force of the child's core disruption. A wound like that would have incapacitated any human soldier. Yet Rowland's biology had adapted to the strain instead of collapsing. Lyra asked him again how he achieved this. Rowland gave the same answer he had given before. Pain meant little to him when a life was at risk. Days passed as the ceasefire stabilized under the new atmosphere of reluctant trust. Rowland remained at the med station for observation. Lyra visited him daily. She spoke openly of her people, their history, and the cultural weight carried by their young. Rowland listened with patient interest. He shared stories of his own childhood, describing how he had learned to endure hardship to shield others. He didn't reveal the medical experiments he had been part of, though Lyra sensed there were truths he avoided. She didn't press him. Instead, she watched him with admiration, growing steadily each day. The child he had saved recovered fully. Their name was Rin. Rin often visited Rowland, bringing small gifts crafted from polished shards. Rowland kept each one carefully, treating them as signs of gratitude between two species that had rarely shared peace. Rin followed him with bright eyes, chattering in the soft Kellier speech that he still struggled to understand. Lyra observed these interactions with growing warmth, that she began to walk with him around the med station. She showed him the luminous gardens built from biocrystals that changed color when touched by emotion. When he rested his hand on one, the crystals glowed a steady silver. Lyra's own touch made them bloom with violet waves. The healers whispered that their energies resonated with unusual harmony. Lyra asked him one evening why he didn't fear her people. Many humans believe the Kelly are cold and distant. Rowland replied that suffering was universal. Any species capable of love for its young deserved respect. Lyra held his gaze longer than necessary. Something unspoken passed between them. As word of Rowland's act spread, diplomats from both sides saw an opportunity. They arranged a gathering at the med station, hoping to use this moment as a symbol of unity. Rowland stood beside Lyra during the announcement. She spoke of his bravery, his compassion, and the extraordinary nature of his endurance. She declared that his actions had shown a path forward that both species had failed to see. He had not saved a Kellier child. He had saved a life. That distinction changed everything. Rowland was uncomfortable with the attention, yet he accepted it with humility. He found comfort in Lyra's presence beside him. She didn't treat him as a symbol. She treated him as a person. She often placed a gentle hand on his arm, guiding him with soft certainty. One night, after the diplomats had departed and the med station quieted, Lyra invited Rowland to walk with her onto a balcony overlooking the frozen plains. The stars hung in razor clarity. Rowland rested his arms on the railing as cold air brushed his skin. Lyra stood beside him, her crystal armor reflecting starlight with soft brilliance. She told him that Rin was her child. She had feared losing them that day. She described the terror she felt upon hearing that a young one had been found near the ridge. That fear hardened into something fierce when she learned that a human had touched Rin's core. But when she saw Rin alive, stable, and clinging to Rowland, her perception shifted completely. She stepped closer. She told him that she saw more strength in him than in entire armies. His willingness to bear unimaginable pain for a child not of his own kind had broken every boundary between their species. She confessed that she felt drawn to him, not out of obligation, but out of deep respect and something growing stronger each day. Rowland listened silently. He felt the weight of her words settle in his chest. He admitted that he too felt a connection forming, something he could not easily name. Lyra reached out and placed her hand over his. Their energies resonated again, silver and violet merging into soft light. From that night forward, they spent their days exploring new territories together. Lyra taught him the ways of the Kellier, their customs, their rituals, and their ancient philosophies on harmony. Rowland taught her human resilience, the value of individual courage, and the quiet strength of empathy. Their bond became a symbol stronger than any treaty. When the time came for Rowland to return to his command post, Lyra stood before him in the docking chamber. Rin hugged him tightly. Lyra looked at him with steady determination. She told him that their paths were now intertwined.